We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Network. Here's today's top headlines. Here we go. U.S. authorities have broadly expanded the use of a smartphone app during the coronavirus pandemic to ensure immigrants released from detention will attend deportation hearings. A requirement that advocates say violates their privacy and makes them feel they're not free. More than 125,000 people, many of them stopped at the U.S.-Mexico border, are now compelled to install the app known as SmartLink on their phones, up from around 5,000 less than 3 years ago. It allows officials to easily check on them by requiring the immigrants to send a selfie or make or receive a phone call when asked. Although the technology is less cumbersome than an ankle monitor, advocates say tethering immigrants to the app is unfair, considering many have paid bond to get out of U.S. detention facilities, with their cases churning through the country's backlogged immigration courts. Immigration proceedings are administrative, not criminal, and the overwhelming majority of people with cases before the courts aren't detained. Next news. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has given the smaller nation's embassy in Washington an unexpected role: recruitment center for Americans who want to join the fight. Diplomats working out of the embassy in a townhouse in the Georgetown section of the city are fielding thousands of offers from volunteers seeking to fight for Ukraine. Even as they work on the far more pressing matter of securing weapons to defend against an increasingly brutal Russian onslaught, they really feel that this war is unfair and unprovoked, said Ukraine's military attaché, Major General Boris Kremenetsky. Quotes, "They feel they have to go and help." End quotes. U.S. volunteers represent just a small subset of foreigners seeking to fight for Ukraine, who in turn comprise just a tiny fraction of the international assistance that has flowed into the country. Still, it is a reflection of the passion supercharged in an era of social media that the attack and the mounting civilian casualties have stirred in the hearts of everyone. Next news. President Donald Trump rolled out the Paycheck Protection Program to catapult the U.S. economy into a quick recovery program from the coronavirus pandemic by helping small businesses stay open and their employees working. President Joe Biden tweaked it to try to direct more of the money to poorer communities and minority-owned companies. Now, almost 2 years after the program made its debut, the question is what taxpayers got for the $800 billion. The Biden administration says its version of the program helped prevent racial inequality from worsening, while a prominent academic study suggests the overall price tag was I don't understand this. Sorry. Nearly a year after the implementation of its $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package, the Biden administration is arguing that it made critical adjustments to the forgivable loan program, pointing to internal figures showing that more benefits went to poor communities, racial minorities, and the smallest of businesses, those in which the owner is the sole employee. Next news. The focus of a trial in Michigan has quickly turned to the question of whether the FBI tricked and cajoled 4 defendants into agreeing to a plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. During the initial round of opening statements to jurors, lawyers on Wednesday tiptoed around whether agents induced the men to commit crimes they wouldn't have contemplated on their own, known as entrapment. But U.S. District Judge Robert Jonker subsequently took the unusual step of allowing them to speak again to the jury to specifically address an entrapment defense, after hearing them allude to it earlier. Prosecutors are expected to present more testimony Thursday to show that the 4, Adam Fox, Barry Croft Jr., Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta, were poised to get Whitmer before their arrests in October 2020. Quotes, if the defendant was already willing to commit the crime, that is not entrapment. End quotes. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jonathan Roth said, quotes, these defendants were willing and eager, if not already preparing to commit this crime long before law enforcement got involved. End quotes. We're going to take a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Network. Thank you. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Thanks.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium TV 24 Global News Network. Here's the continuation of today's headlines. When French President Emmanuel Macron picked the lavish Versailles Palace for this week's summit of European Union leaders, he didn't anticipate the grimness of the Ukraine war. With the coronavirus pandemic receding, the 2-day meeting starting Thursday should have been devoted to optimistic discussions on the EU's new economic growth and investment model. Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to invade his neighbor turned everything upside down, with European nations united in backing Ukraine's resistance with unprecedented economic sanctions. 3 main topics now dominate the agenda. Ukraine's application for fast-track EU membership. How do we wean the bloc off its Russian energy dependency? and bolstering the region's defense capabilities. The EU has showed remarkable cohesion since the war started last month. It quickly adopted massive sanctions targeting Putin himself, Russia's financial system, and its high maintenance oligarchs. It also took the unprecedented step of collectively supplying weapons to a country under attack. Next news. A Russian airstrike is on a Mariupol maternity hospital that killed 3 people drew outrage on Thursday, with Ukrainian and Western officials branding it a war crime. As talks to reach a broad ceasefire failed, emergency workers renewed efforts to get vital food and medical supplies into besieged cities and to get traumatized residents out. Ukrainian authorities said a child was among the dead in Wednesday's attack in the crucial southern port of Mariupol. Another 17 people were wounded, including a woman waiting to give birth, doctors and children buried in the rubble. Images of pregnant women covered in dust and blood dominated news reports in many countries and brought a new wave of horror at the two-week-old war sparked by Russia's invasion, which has killed thousands of soldiers and civilians, driven more than 2 million people from Ukraine, and shaken the foundations of European security. Millions more have been displaced inside the country. Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said Thursday that about 2 million people, half the residents of the capital's metropolitan area, have left the city, which has become virtually a fortress. Quotes, every street, every house is being fortified. End quotes. He said in televised remarks, quotes, even people who in their lives never intended to change their clothes, now they are in uniform with machine guns in their hands. End quotes. Next news. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday embraced calls for an international war crimes investigation of Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, citing the atrocities of bombing civilians, including a maternity hospital. Speaking alongside Polish President Andrzej Duda at a press conference in Warsaw, where she is demonstrating U.S. support for NATO's eastern flank allies, Harris expressed outrage over the bombing Wednesday of the maternity hospital and scenes of the bloodied pregnant woman being evacuated, as well as other attacks on civilians. She stopped short of directly accusing Russia of having committed war crimes. Quotes, absolutely there should be an investigation and we should all be watching, end quote, said Harris, noting that the United Nations has already started a process to review allegations. Quotes, I have no question the eyes of the world are on this war and what Russia has done in terms of this aggression and these atrocities, end quotes. Next news. The House overwhelmingly approved legislation Wednesday night that would ban Russian oil imports to the United States, an effort to put into law the restrictions announced by President Joe Biden in response to the escalating war in Ukraine. Going further than Biden's import ban on Russian oil, the bill making its way through Congress would also encourage a review of Russia's status in the World Trade Organization and signal U.S. support for sanctions on Russian officials, over human rights violations as the U.S. works to economically isolate the regime. Lawmakers in both parties have been eager to act, willing to risk higher gas prices at home in order to support Ukraine with a show of U.S. bipartisanship. The legislation was approved Wednesday, 414 to 17, and now goes to the Senate. Representative Lloyd Doggett, Democrat from Texas, who helped draft the bill, acknowledged it may cost more to fill up tanks at home to stop Russian President Vladimir Putin's tanks abroad. We're going to take a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium TV 24 Global News Update. Here's a continuation of today's headlines. We're going to go to next news here. Next news, please. Okay, we just did this story. So the next, okay, as more than 2 million refugees from Ukraine begin to scatter throughout Europe and beyond, some are carrying valuable witness evidence to build a case for potential war crimes. More and more. The people who are turning up at border crossings are survivors who have fled some of the cities hardest hit by Russian forces. It was very eerie, said Igor Dyakov, one of the many people who crossed the Irpin River outside Kiev on the slippery wooden planks of a makeshift bridge, after Ukrainians blew up the concrete span to slow the Russian advance. He heard gunshots as he crossed and saw corpses along the road. Quotes, the Russians promised to provide a humanitarian corridor, which they did not comply with. They were shooting civilians. End quotes, he said. That's absolutely true. I witnessed it. People were scared. End quotes. Such testimonies will increasingly reach the world in the coming days as more people flow along fragile humanitarian corridors. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday said 3 such corridors were operating from bombarded areas. In all, about 35,000 people got out. People left Sumy in the northeast near the Russian border. The suburbs of Kiev and Enerhodar, the southern town where Russian forces took over a large nuclear plant. Next news. Ukraine's attempt to get Russia kicked off the internet failed but a diverse group of experts proposes a more narrow approach to sanctioning the Kremlin for invading its neighbor. Consider creating a mechanism that could technically blacklist individual Russian military and propaganda websites. In an open letter released Thursday, the activists say it's time the internet community developed a way to confront humanitarian crises. The idea they float would mean gathering and publishing a list of sanctioned IP addresses and domain names in the form of data feeds that telecommunications providers and other network operators could subscribe to, with the goal of rendering the targets unreachable. No new technology would be required, and putting the system to work would require minimal effort because it would mirror existing ones already in use by network operators, said Bill Woodcock, executive director of Packet Clearinghouse, a global nonprofit that promotes internet development. Next news. Their advocacy helped send Purdue Pharma into bankruptcy and is forcing the family that has controlled the company for generations to relinquish ownership and provide billions of dollars for communities to combat opioid addiction. But what victims of opioid abuse and those who have lost loved ones to America's long battle with addiction have wanted most was a chance to confront members of the Sackler family, whom they blame for touching off a crisis that has cost some 500,000 lives over the past 2 decades. On Thursday, some of them will finally get their chance in a hearing that will be virtual, but is certain to be packed with emotion. Roughly 20 people whose lives and families have been racked by opioid abuse will give statements in U.S. bankruptcy court, with some members of the Sackler family listening. They are likely to tell about the pain of losing children after years of trying to get them adequate treatment, about their own journeys through addiction, and about caring for babies born into withdrawal and screaming in pain. Those are babies being born that way. The forum is an unconventional hearing for the White Plains, New York courtroom of bankruptcy Judge Robert Drain, who on Wednesday gave tentative approval to key elements of a plan to settle thousands of lawsuits against the company. Quotes, "No one can possibly underestimate how historic Thursday's session will be," end quotes. Eric Price, a lawyer representing Purdue's creditors, told the judge Wednesday. We're going to take a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium TV 24/7 Global News Network. Here's the continuation of today's headlines. Thanks for being with us. China is tackling a COVID-19 spike with selective lockdowns and other measures that appear to slightly ease its draconian zero tolerance strategy. In Hong Kong, where experts say the city's worst outbreak to date may have peaked, barbershops and hair salons reopened Thursday. Still, many are seeking that as an example of mixed messages from the government of the semi-autonomous Chinese territory that has been ordered to follow the zero tolerance approach used on the mainland. Hong Kong authorities reported 31,392 local infections on Thursday, down from over 50,000 infections the previous day. On the mainland, the 402 cases of local transmission reported Thursday were quadruple the number of cases a week ago. Of those, 165 were in the northeastern province of Jilin, mainly in the cities of Changchun and Jilin, where city authorities locked down 160 residential communities where multiple cases have been detected. 3 rounds of mass testing in Jilin City have also been completed. Intercity transport links suspended, and all residents advised to stay home until numbers drop. Non-essential businesses and snow recreation areas were closed. Next news. People stand when Dr. Matshidiso Moeti enters a room at the World Health Organization's Africa headquarters in the Republic of Congo, and they listen intently to what she says. Small in stature and big in presence, Moeti is the first woman to lead the World Health Organization's Regional Africa Office. The capstone of her trailblazing career, in which she has overcome discrimination in apartheid South Africa to become one of the world's top health administrators. As WHO Africa chief, Moeti initiates emergency responses to health crises in 47 of the continent's 54 countries and recommends policies to strengthen their health care systems. Since her appointment in 2015, Moeti has grappled with the world's deadliest Ebola outbreak in West Africa. She has also had to handle lingering criticism of the WHO's spending and hiring in Africa. It also deals with allegations of sexual assault by contractors during Congo's Ebola crisis. Next news. The European Central Bank said Thursday that it will speed up ending its economic stimulus efforts to combat record inflation that threatens to go ever higher as energy prices soar during Russia's war in Ukraine. The move was a tough choice because the war also has exposed Europe to a potential hit to the economic growth, and any moves to counter rising consumer prices could endanger that growth. In quotes, the prospects for the economy will depend on the course of the Russia-Ukraine war and on the impact of economic and financial sanctions and other measures, end quotes, Bank President Christine Lagarde said. Quotes, At the same time, other headwinds to growth are now waning, end quotes, she said, pointing to signs that some of the supply bottlenecks that have held back businesses are showing, quotes, signs of easing. Lagarde said the impact of sharply higher energy prices could be, quotes, partly cushioned by savings that people couldn't spend during the pandemic restrictions. She spoke after the bank said it will end its bond purchases in the third quarter, but could modify that schedule if the inflation outlook changes. Previously, it said it would taper them off to 20 billion euros per month by the last 3 months of the year and continue them as long as needed. But the bank did not move up its schedule for a first interest rate increase, dropping a promise that rates would go up shortly after the end of bond purchases. It said in a statement that any rate changes will take place sometime after the end of the bond purchases and will be gradual. The purchases aim to keep borrowing costs low for companies and promote business investment and hiring. Next news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party had a commanding lead in India's most populous state as votes were counted Thursday, despite his government's criticized handling of COVID-19, soaring unemployment, and farmer protests. Trends in the poll data shared by India's election commission showed the Bharatiya Janata Party comfortably leading in Uttar Pradesh state in polls that were seen as a crucial test for Modi's popularity before national elections in 2024. Modi's BJP was also ahead in 3 more states, while India's main opposition party, Congress, was facing a rout in Punjab, data showed. The final tally for 5 states, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Manipur, and Goa, where voters went to the polls over a month to cast their ballots, was expected by Thursday evening at the earliest. Thursday's results, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, are seen as a referendum on Modi's popularity and a resounding endorsement of his party's Hindu-first politics. They will also dent the hopes of India's opposition parties, which are banking to form a united front to challenge Modi in the next general elections. This has been the Daily English News Global News Update of Millennium News TV 24/7. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of it. Log in to get the latest news on all of our social networking sites: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. On TikTok, we are Millennium News 24. Also, our YouTube channel, which you should check out, really. YouTube channel is News Channel M24. Viewers, now on both network broadcasting, really, Android and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV. Also, all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views, editorials, and current events. Our Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA on Android, Millennium News Google. You can Google us. Also look up www millenniumnews24.com. 2 N's, 2 L's. Stay with Millennium News 24. Thank you so much and wish you all the best. Peace. Thank you.